Hi, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for joining the live and happy Black Breastfeeding Week. Hi, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for joining the live. Sorry, I had another screen there with YouTube. So we are going to be, let me get back to what I was going to say. Happy Black Breastfeeding Week. Black Breastfeeding Week is every last week of August, so it's the 25th to the 31st every year. And so I wanted to come on live and give you guys some tips that I've picked up over the years. I am a breastfeeding educator as well as a doula, and I want to share with you what I've seen work with my clients. I always do encourage breastfeeding. I would say 99.9% of the clients and women who come to me they want to breastfeed. So there's some varying commitments to it. Some people are super gung-ho about it. Some people are just simply curious, like, well, I'll do it if it works, but if it doesn't, then I'll just go to the formula. But I would say the majority of people that come to me or that I'm connected with in any way are interested in breastfeeding. So these are kind of I have some points that I want to share with you. They're kind of in order, they're kind of not in order. So I'll probably be jumping around a little bit. And I can see the comments. So if you have a question on either Instagram or YouTube, please ask your questions. And towards the end of this live, I'll make sure that I get to as many questions as I can, or even comments, or if you have, if you want to share personal stories or ways that you've overcome breastfeeding hurdles, then just post them in the comments and I will be happy to share them with everyone else that's in the live. So first and foremost, I will assume everybody knows the benefits of breastfeeding, and I will post a link for the millions of benefits of breastfeeding in this chat so that you can refer to that to know that it's just wonderful and it's fantabulous. I think everybody pretty much can agree, like, breast is best. We all know it is. Hey, the spiritual midwife, thank you for joining the live. That breastfeeding is amazing, and so we can just kind of go off of a base level that we all know that breastfeeding is the best. We're going to talk about what does it take to have a successful start with breastfeeding. One thing that we know is that women who have a successful experience within the first 2 weeks, and specifically within the first 5 to 7 days, are more likely to be able to breastfeed their child for as long as they want. So that early start and that early success is extremely important as far as the longevity of your breastfeeding journey. So first, I want to talk about supplies. When I come to my client's home and they show me some of the stuff that they've gotten, that they've ordered online, or people have talked to them about different products, a lot of them baffle me. I'm wondering, like, what is the purpose of this? A lot of them are really unnecessary. You really don't need a lot of stuff to breastfeed, to be really honest with you. And like, even the basic supplies such as the boppies or the breastfeeding pillows and stuff like that, I would say most people end up abandoning most of those. Once they get home, they realize that the individual pillows that you have, like just on your bed, are much more conducive to what you need to do to breastfeed than some of the breastfeeding pillows. Some people love the breastfeeding pillows, but I would say for the most part, like, even those aren't as versatile as lots of small pillows. So some of the cups and creams and all of that stuff, I'll tell you, like, some of the very basic things that you'll need is get your breastfeeding pump, so that way when you are on maternity leave, you won't have to worry about that. So most insurances, including Medicaid, you're able to order that breast pump ahead of time. So you can go ahead and order your breast pump and have that on deck. And then secondly, I would say you would need the bags. I love the bags, especially if you're planning on going back to work or school, because the little breast milk Ziploc bags help you save milk and freeze it. So those are really great to have. And then I would say order a variety of bottles that mimic the breast, because it's really like once you start introducing the bottle later down the line, you want to have a variety, because sometimes it just takes the right one that your baby will actually take. So just order a variety of them. Don't order a lot of bottles, and just open up as little as you can. That way you can go back to the store and exchange the ones that the baby didn't like for the ones that the baby does like. And so you can save money that way. I do like those milky things. I think they're called milkies, that like you could put on one breast and it would catch the excess breast milk. I do like those. And then I like the Haakaa, which is like a manual pump, which is great for alleviating a little bit of engorgement, catching extra milk. It can't be a main pumping source, but the Haakaa is really great because I think it's dishwasher safe. And it's very it's just one piece. It's very simple. And I love that about the Haakaa. And I would say if you got the Haakaa, you probably wouldn't need that milky thing to catch the milk, because the Haakaa could really serve that purpose. So love that. And that's really pretty much all the supplies. And then as far as your nipples are concerned, coconut oil. Coconut oil is really great to put on the nipples because it's a cooling nature. So it alleviates some inflammation that you could have at the very beginning when you're getting used to breastfeeding, or if you have a bad latch while you're learning your baby and you guys are learning together. I love the coconut oil for that. And then some people like lanolin. So lanolin, I want to say, is an animal product. So if you are vegan, vegetarian, you may want to opt to use coconut oil. So simple, like you don't need a bunch of stuff. I've seen warming pads and cooling this and that. Like a cool rag works and a warm rag works. Like, I promise you don't need most of that stuff. So just, know that the main thing that you need to breastfeed and be successful is yourself and the baby. And that's, the basics of all you need. All the other stuff is really just can be expensive, and it can make it seem more cumbersome than what it is. Okay, and then another thing that I would say for early success is to have your support team lined up. So if you can go to a prenatal breastfeeding class, there are prenatal breastfeeding classes online, or you can look in your local community and sign up for a prenatal breastfeeding class. And then whoever is going to be your main support people, so it may be your mother and your partner or your sister or cousin or whoever you're planning on leaning on the most for your postnatal support, you want to see if they can come to the class with you, because it would be really helpful for them to also have the information. So that way, because a lot of times millennial women, we are the first ones in our family who are reintroducing breastfeeding. Like maybe our grandparents breastfed or our great-grandparents breastfed, and then we've gone generations on just formula. So for a lot of family systems, it's new. They don't really have a lot of experience with breastfeeding mothers. So whoever you're going to lean on for your support, that's going to be there with you after you have the baby, you want to make sure that they are getting the same information that you're getting, so that they have more buy-in to the process. Because there's some differences with the developmental factors as far as like how long breastfed babies sleep, and some of their behavior that may be different to people. So it would help for them to kind of get information from someone outside of you, so it's not you're telling them what someone told you, but that they can get it straight from the source, get that information about breastfeeding so that they can be more of a support to you and your baby. Another thing is that I would recommend that you look at your insurance and see what lactation services are covered by your insurance. Oftentimes they have either a lactation consultant, or they have they either have a lactation consultant or they have lactation classes that they will cover for you at either a copay rate or 100%. I've seen all of that, and in between. So look at that and see what resources that you'll have. And you can do all this while pregnant, so that you can start looking at that list and start interviewing lactation consultants and seeing who you can have on speed dial should you need any assistance. So go ahead and, start getting that ready, add that to your postnatal plan. And then also there may be other, I'm going to get to your question. Thank you for your question, sis. I'm going to get to your question before I end this live. I'm going to read through it and make sure that I address that. So you also want to look in the community and see what other resources, like WIC is nationwide, at least in the United States, and they offer lactation support. And I want to say, at least in my state, I'm based in Texas, and in our state, you don't have to be signed up for WIC in order to access lactation services. So anybody that needs lactation services can go and get them at WIC. So you may make, your income may overqualify you for WIC, or you won't, qualify for WIC because you make too much, but that doesn't mean that you can't go in there and talk to a peer counselor or talk to a lactation consultant about your breastfeeding issue and take your baby there, make an appointment. So that's one option. There are some pediatricians who have lactation person on staff. Sometimes at the place where you give birth to your child, they will have outpatient lactation that can continue to help you. And then, of course, there's independent practitioners, lactation consultants that work for themselves. So, start the process early and looking into what resources you have. And then I always encourage to start with your insurance to make sure that you're taking advantage. If you're paying for it anyway, you might as well try to take advantage of the resources that you have available to you. The next thing I would say is to set your personal goal. So how long do you want to breastfeed your child exclusively? I want to say that the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends 6 months. The World Health Organization I think has a slightly different recommendation, but I would recommend that you look at the American Academy of Pediatrics as well as the World Health Organization, and make a goal for yourself about how long you want to breastfeed your child. So let's just say it's 6 months to a year. We can kind of go with that mind frame. So those first couple of weeks for you to be able to achieve that 6 months to a year, is very crucial that you establish a good nursing relationship and establish your supply very early on. And of course, building up your confidence as much as you can during the prenatal phase to know that you can do it. I think that women especially are at a disadvantage because we're constantly bombarded with messaging and with marketing that always tell us that we're inadequate. So you're inadequate, so buy this product. You're not enough, so purchase this thing and this is going to make you feel better. Or you can't heal yourself, so purchase these medicines to finally get it better. So there's not a lot of there's not messaging constantly telling you that you are enough and everything that you need is within yourself, and everything that you need to heal yourself you can find in the environment. It's actually the contrary. So all of this messaging compounded over our lifetime puts us at a disadvantage for breastfeeding because we can't see the milk going out. So sometimes we don't have that. You don't have that inner confidence to know that you're enough. You don't feel like you're making enough milk. And if you don't feel like you're making enough milk, then you feel bad, you feel negative. And if you feel bad and feel negative, that's of course the antithesis to the types of hormonal compounds that you need in order to produce enough milk. So that confidence and knowing that you are enough, your body is not a lemon, you are able to have an abundance of life and vitality within yourself. I know it sounds totally unrelated, but it is so crucial for the mindset and for the mentality that you'll need in order to make enough milk and feel confident in your ability to nourish your child. So create that goal for yourself. And switching to something to the next phase is that initial skin-to-skin contact. So especially for those who are delivering your baby inside the hospital, baby friendly or on their way to being baby friendly, will say that they do initial skin to skin contact, and they'll just kind of, blanket statement that they know that's something that consumers are looking for. So that's something that they kind of tout that they do. It's also best practices. And there's a lot of health benefits to initial skin to skin contact for mother and for baby. However, what I have seen actually in hospital settings is that it's not really skin to skin. It's not really skin to skin. It's skin to gown or skin to towel or skin to blanket. It's very rare in a hospital setting, at least in my metropolitan area, in my state, that inside the hospital that it's actually a real live skin to skin. So what I do to try to help facilitate my clients to do that is, like, once they get ready to push, like it's time to push, I will make sure that I can get the gown where it can be quickly taken down, or just pull it down altogether. If mom has on a bra or a sports bra, to make sure that we get that off before she starts pushing. And then whatever nurse is there to help facilitate that, or nurse or nurses, to let them know, like, she wants the baby actually on her skin, not in the blanket on her skin or on the gown on her skin, but actually on her skin. It's okay. So I know they're used to skin to skin, but they're not used to, like, the real skin to skin. Like, they think they're saving you from, I don't know, the fluids and all of that jazz that's related to birth. That's pretty common. And they don't want it on you. So they want to clean the baby up a little bit before it goes on you. But actually that's beneficial for you and for the baby, because those smells for you help activate the breast milk to start to release. And it also helps the baby bond with you and know that that is their safe place. It helps the baby regulate their heart rate, and it helps them regulate their temperature, which is all things that you need so that your baby can stay with you. So when your baby is able to regulate their own heart rate and help regulate their temperature, that means that they're not going off to the nursery or to NICU or being separated from you, which means that's going to be less anxiety for you, more opportunities to have your baby at the breast. So you yourself, sometimes it's hard to advocate for yourself when so much is going on around you. You're trying to push your baby out. You're trying to focus on that. So it can be very challenging. So what I would say is, like, have your support person or have your doula facilitate that. So it's like, let them know, like, I want an actual real true skin to skin. Can you make sure to help me have that once I push the baby out, so that if all is well with my baby's actually going on my skin. I don't care what juices, what type of birth juices are accompanied with that. I want my baby on my chest. And then I want you to put the towels and the blankets on top of the baby, but I want my baby on my chest. I want real actual skin to skin. Another thing while you are at the hospital is that I would suggest that you have somebody help you latch the baby every single time you're there. And the reason why I say this is because that initial latch that happens is usually amazing, because there's a lot of adrenaline on both sides. You have a lot of adrenaline from having just pushed your baby out. Your baby, if it doesn't have a lot of medications in his or her system, has a lot of adrenaline flowing through the baby. And so that initial latch is very strong and very, innate, and just, it's a very kind of like, I don't know, it's, you'd have to see it to kind of know what I'm talking about, but it's a very instinctual and adrenaline driven latch. And if it's a bad latch, oftentimes the mom wouldn't really feel it because of all the adrenaline and hormones and that are rushing through the system. We wouldn't even know if it was a bad latch. That first few, especially that first latch and the first subsequent latches, we really won't have a good idea of what the real latching situation is going to be until we've had some time for some of those hormones and things like that to dissipate and sort of re-regulate, because you have a new crop of hormones coming in, more oxytocin, prolactin, the progesterone is dropping dramatically. You've lost the placenta. So there's a rebalancing of hormones that happens in the body, and then we'll have a better idea of how this is going to go. So get help every time, push that call button if you're in the hospital and have the nurse come in there, and then make sure that you ask for lactation. Oftentimes nurses have a base level of, I would say all of them, if they work in labor and delivery and if they work in postpartum, they have more so postpartum, usually have more training. But if they work in L&D, they have some breastfeeding experience, but definitely ask to get somebody to help you latch every time, and then ask for specifically for a lactation consultant. And usually they work from 9 to 5. They usually are not 24 hours like the nurses are. So if you have your baby at night, make sure that by the morning time you put in an order, specifically a request to talk to a lactation consultant, and vice versa. If you're having them like in the afternoon, make sure that, hey, I want to talk to a lactation consultant before they leave today. Like, we have your baby at 2, you definitely want to see them before 5 o'clock before they head out. So those are some things that you can do like while inside the hospital. Don't let them kind of come in there and look at you and say, oh, you're doing great, and walk out, because it's really not a good way to know if the latch is good and if you feel comfortable with it. You can specifically ask, can you show me how to take my baby off and then watch me put my baby on and give me feedback? Can you show me different ways to hold my baby and position my baby? A lot of times you have to really advocate for yourself. Especially us as Black women, we really have to advocate for ourselves to get those types of services, because a lot of times people will just kind of look over at you and say, oh, everything's fine, you're not complaining, and just kind of leave you to your own devices. And you could have a bad latch even in the hospital, and nobody would know. And you wouldn't know, especially as a first-time mom, if it's a bad latch. So take the baby off, put the baby on, have them help you put the baby on, and just go over this process over and over and over again until you feel super confident. Because even once you go home, there may be a period of time, let's say you need a lactation consultant, but they're not available till the next day. So that's a long period, that's multiple feedings that need to happen before you're going to see that professional. So I would like for you, I would encourage you to be super confident before you leave the hospital with your ability to latch and position your baby. Speaking of positioning is so important. Your ability to be successful with breastfeeding has a lot to do with you, your baby's well-being. Just like with pregnancy, your baby's well-being is directly correlated to your well-being. So this isn't the time to be the sacrificial lamb. This is not the time to, forego self-care for the greater good, or I'm gonna neglect myself and do everything for my baby. That's actually contradictory statement. Especially when you're breastfeeding, it's a contradictory statement. Everything that you do for yourself in terms of feeding yourself and nourishing yourself and taking care of yourself directly affects your baby. You guys are completely interlocked. So back to positioning, I want you to be comfortable first. You need to be comfortable first. I have seen mothers hovering over their babies, leaning over their babies, their back hurts, their shoulders hurt, their neck hurts, they're stiff, their arms hurt, they're in pain. And they're like, I'm trying to breastfeed my baby the perfect way. And it's like, babes, no, you're not going to be able to be sustainable in pain, because one of the hormones that's very important for breastfeeding is oxytocin. Oxytocin is a love hormone, a bonding hormone. This is the hormone that causes the milk ducts to contract and excrete the milk. So oxytocin and bonding, oxytocin, the hormone, is going to flow more freely if you are comfortable. if you are uncomfortable, you are releasing hormones like cortisol and stress hormones, and those hormones can block your ability to produce the hormones that you need to breastfeed. So the very first thing is that you need to be comfortable. So it's really great to have someone help you, especially in the first week or two. Hand you the baby every single time. Newborn babies are very wobbly. They don't have any type of neck strength or back strength. So they're very, 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 very moldable, little creatures. And so you really need the right setup so that you're comfortable, number one. And then number two, you have the ability to support the baby. So what I would recommend is that you find different places in your home that you like to hang out. So you'll probably be in your room a lot when you first have the baby. So you want to have lots of pillows. And if you can lean back, it's even better. And I'll get to laid back breastfeeding in a couple minutes. But if you can lean back, lay on the side, lay in get comfortable in a chair. You want to be totally relaxed and supported by pillows or by some type of furniture. So that way you have less hovering and holding and all this type of contraptions. Because I promise you, that doesn't really work long. You can do that for 5 minutes. You can't do that for 30. And you can do that for a few days, but you're not going to be able to do that for weeks and months. So you want to get comfortable first. Number one, have somebody hand the baby to you. So as far as your breasts are concerned, you don't want to hold the breast like a bottle or prop the breast up or any of that. You just want to kind of let your breast fall wherever they fall, however way that is. And you want to take the baby to the breast. You don't want to take the breast to the baby. And the reason why you want to take the baby to the breast is because you don't want so at the beginning of the latch is very strong and it's very it's fast and kind of voracious. And what the baby's doing is triggering a letdown response of the breast. So once the baby triggers the letdown response and the oxytocin starts to squeeze those ducts and the milk comes out, the baby just kind of lays there, let it come in their mouth, and they swallow. So the suction isn't as tight. So if you're holding your breast in an awkward position and the baby in an awkward position and that latch is super, super strong at the beginning, as the feeding goes on and the latch gets less, the suction decreases, the breast is going to start to slip out of the baby's mouth. And now instead of that really great deep latch with the baby having lots of areola in their mouth, they're going to be on the tip of your nipple. And that is not going to be fun. And that is a recipe for nipple trauma and nipple sores and pain. And you'll think that you can't breastfeed, but really you have no problem breastfeeding. You just need the right position. And you need to be comfortable so that you're not stressed out and in pain. It's so important that you are comfortable. So position. So like I said, lay your breast forward, take the baby to your breast. You want to get a good latch. We might need another live just on latches, but just in a nutshell, the baby's mouth is wide open and you bring the baby into the breast, and then the baby shouldn't just be on the nipple. The baby should actually have as much of the areola in their mouth as they can fit. And it shouldn't be painful. A little uncomfortable at the beginning, like the first couple of weeks is normal, but it shouldn't be so uncomfortable that you're curling your toes and bracing yourself and you can see that your nipples are red and blistering. Then call for help ASAP. Even if you have several latches that are really uncomfortable and you can't resolve it, call someone. You don't have to wait until you're bleeding or wait until there's a major issue before you call in someone to help you get the latch right. So early intervention is going to help you be successful. Getting the right position and getting a good latch is going to help you be successful. Waving at people on IG. So, we talked about latching, positioning, while you're at home, having someone hand you the baby. And back to goals, I want you to kind of know that your goal at the very beginning of your postnatal time is going to be recuperate. It's going to be to get to know your baby. And when I say get to know your baby, that's everything that entails with this little being. That's going to be getting to know breastfeeding, having patience with yourself as you learn your child and learn this process. Patience is key. Patience is going to take you a long way in the journey of parenthood, period. And to rest as much as you possibly can. Give yourself an opportunity to recuperate. And for moms who've had a child, a lot of times you want, first of all, if you have a child and you're breastfeeding again, a lot of times you forget about newborn breastfeeding because the last time you breastfed either a toddler or an older infant. And so sometimes you forget about those early days. You try to hold a newborn like you hold a toddler. You try to hold a newborn like you do an older child. And that does not work. So try to, take some things from your previous motherhood experience, but also open your mind to the fact that this is a totally new child with a new personality, new specific needs to them. They're a newborn, so there's certain things that you have, like you're an experienced mother, but you're a new mother to this particular child. And sometimes opening your mind up to that will help you not to be so rigid in your approach to this particular child, and will give you the curiosity and the openness to really take this situation as a new one. And so, hey, this baby doesn't like that. My last baby did. And so there'll be less of that because I think the babies can kind of pick up on that energy, like, hey, you're comparing me to my sibling all the time, and they can kind of turn up about that. So just, take it as a new experience. If you get a bad latch, it's important that you don't try to just push through, because the idea is for you to never be in excruciating pain. We don't ever want you in pain. Breastfeeding isn't something that you grit down and endure pain for. It can be a little uncomfortable just at the nipple for a while at the very, very beginning because it's new, but it shouldn't be excruciating pain. That's something that we need to address. So if you have a bad latch, you want to put your pinky finger in the baby's, right in the cheek area, and you want to break the suction of that latch. So you don't want to just pull the baby off or pull the nipple out. You want to actually put that pinky in there or any clean finger and break the latch and then pull the baby off and then get them relatched. And I think I do need another live just on latching. And another thing that I see people doing is pumping too soon. Pumping too soon. So breastfeeding is a supply and a demand interaction, right? So you constantly want to be emptying the breast, and that helps your body produce more milk. But you definitely don't want to produce so much milk to where your body thinks that you don't want to produce so much milk that your body thinks that you have twins. And also, I would say at the very beginning, to keep it simple for you, is to just have as few extraneous things as possible. Because this early time, you're building your supply to respond to your child, and you want to build your confidence in your own ability to produce the milk. So you don't need to pump so soon. I would say abstain from pumping for at least 2 weeks. Just establish your supply. You and your baby. Put your baby on the breast, nurse your baby. You don't need bottles and pumps and all of that jazz. Unless, this is on a healthy situation. I'm not talking about NICU and special situations. That doesn't apply. This advice wouldn't apply to that. Just a regular, I had my baby full term, I came home, this is what's up. Then I would say, don't pump. Just focus on latching your baby. Laid back. I want to go a little bit more in depth on laid back nursing. So most imagery that we have of breastfeeding is the mom sitting up super erect, cradling her baby, and she's holding her baby up, and the baby's nursing on there, and there's angels and, you know, unicorns flying in the background, and it's so beautiful. That doesn't really work with newborns at the very beginning. It really doesn't, because like I said, they're very wobbly creatures. So you tend to need a lot of pillows and things like that to support you and help support them. And they nurse a lot. So you want to make sure that you're comfortable, because they nurse very frequently. So you're not going to be able to sit up in a chair every single time. Like, no, you're laying down, you're on the couch, you're in the recliner. So that type of stuff, that type of imagery is beautiful, but it's not real life. It's not what happens on a day-to-day basis. So laid back is the way to go. So laid back is when you are laying at an angle in your bed or on the couch or in a recliner or something, and you're supported by either furniture or lots of pillows, and then kind of get comfortable, be, you know, braless if possible, and then let your breast fall where it may. Have somebody hand you the baby, and then you put the baby on your breast. So you'll tickle, you know, this area, wait till they open up wide and pull them in. And then after you get the baby latched at the beginning, then you want to put the pillows underneath your arm, underneath your elbow, underneath the baby, wherever, to give you extra support. Let me see if I can kind of show you. So, you know, if your arm's here, so you want to put pillows underneath to kind of give your arm support. And then at this point, you're laying back. Some people can do side lying, where you're actually laying on your side and you latch the baby. Some people can do that super, super early on. But if you can't, it's okay. If the baby's too small for that, you can wait a little bit longer. But the laid back is really important. Laid back is also super important once your milk comes in. So when your milk comes in and then your baby's nursing a lot and then it really comes in, a lot of times that letdown is very strong for the baby. And so a lot of times the baby will not finish the feeding and will even push away. And you're like, you know, a lot of moms are like, what's going on? My baby is rejecting my breast. They're pushing away. They must don't want this. I need to give them a bottle. But what's happening is that a lot of times the letdown is so strong. Like I was explaining earlier, the baby is sucking, making that letdown happen, and then the letdown happens, the milk squirts out. They just kind of lay there, let the milk fill up their mouth, they swallow, they let the milk come in, they swallow. And so if it's a lot of milk and they feel overwhelmed, they'll just push back, like, you know, they'll eat a little bit just to kind of cut their hunger, but a lot of times they won't finish the feeding because it's just too overwhelming. Because if you're hovering over the baby, which what a lot of people do because they think that's the quote right way to breastfeed, they're hovering over the baby. So the milk is just going straight into the baby's mouth, and it can be overwhelming. So when you lay back or lay on your side, the baby is more positioned on top of the breast as opposed to underneath the breast. So the baby has much more control about how much milk they're taking in. So any excess milk that is too much for them will roll out of their mouth, and that's perfectly fine. And it's their way to regulate how much milk is coming in. Over time, your body will adjust to the baby, and that strong letdown will usually dissipate. But a lot of times it happens like a little bit after your milk comes in till around 2 months. A lot of times this really strong letdown will happen. And then for our moms who jump the gun and pump regularly, very, very quickly, they will have a super strong letdown because their body is making more milk than what the baby actually needs, because their body is making milk for the baby and milk for the pump. So that's why another reason why I suggest that you hold off on pumping until 2-3 weeks down the line, so that your milk supply can actually develop to meet the specific needs of your baby. So that's what I have to say about laid back breastfeeding. Learning the needs of your baby, I kind of talked about that, but just to go a little bit more in depth, if you have experience with formula-fed babies, and if your family has experience with formula-fed babies, you'll definitely want to kind of learn the needs of breastfed babies. Breastfed babies develop at different rates than formula-fed babies. And this is not scientific. This is more anecdotal that I've noticed, or that I'm just making observations. So if you think about what formula made from a milk or a goat, but mostly from made from cows, or from goats, but mainly from cows, that milk is for their babies. It's for a cow baby. It's for a calf. And so what are the needs of a baby calf? They need to be able to get up, walk, and be self-sufficient very quickly, very quickly. So the main components of that milk is going to be muscular, skeletal-muscular development fast. So that's what it's produced for. We as humans, our brains grow the most from ages 0 to 5 years old. That's when the most brain growth is happening. So the type of milk that human mothers produce is mainly for brain development. It's really highly focused on brain development. So I've noticed a lot of breastfeeding children walk a little bit later than formula-fed babies. This is just my observation, no science. I don't have no science to back this up. I'll always tell y'all that this is just what I see. I have observed that a lot of breastfed babies walk later down the line than formula-fed babies. And I think that it makes sense because the formula is it's muscles and skeleton, fast, you know. But of course, breastfed, now this is scientific, breastfed babies have higher IQs, you know, they have higher brain development. So, you know, go figure. Also, a lot of times the teeth will come in later down the line. When you have a breastfed baby, you know, you might see a baby that's a year old, a full mouth of teeth, and they're on formula. Like, what's wrong with my baby? My baby only has 2 teeth. What's going on? Well, you know, if you think about the skeletal development and the stimuli that they're getting, it's just different. But eventually they all catch up, but just learn the differences of the development and know that your baby as a breastfed baby will be developing at a different level than some of the formula-fed babies. Also, formula-fed babies sleep through the night a lot sooner than breastfed babies on average, because breast milk is so bioavailable. And when I say bioavailable, I mean that it's able to be broken down, most all of it. It's very little waste. So most all of that is going to hydrate the baby, nourish the baby, grow the baby's brain. You know, it has antibodies. Like I said, I'll post the benefits of breast milk in there, so we ain't got to go through all that 1,000+ list. But it's very little waste. So the babies use it up, and a lot of times they wake up. So formula-fed babies may go 4 hours, 6 hours through the night or longer. Breastfed babies may continue to wake up every 2 to 3 hours for a while. And so that's not uncommon. So you may think, oh, something's wrong with my baby. They're not satisfied. They're not, you know, they're wanting milk all the time. What's happening is that they're just utilizing so much of the milk. Now there are ways that you could tell, is my baby satisfied? Am I producing enough milk? There's ways that we can tell that, and I'll try to find an article and post it in here as well, so that you can kind of know, like, is my baby frequently feeding because they're just using the milk? And, you know, one way we can know is if there's poopy and pee diapers, we know the baby's getting something, if we have lots of wet and poopy diapers. But just other ways that you could feel confident to know that you're transferring milk and the baby is drinking milk. Because that's another thing that we don't have. Like, we don't have the bottle, we can't see the milk go, so we just have to have faith that the baby's actually getting the milk. And we have to know, well, as a breastfeeding mother, what are the cues that I can know, like, that my baby is being satisfied with my breast milk? And frequent feeding doesn't mean the baby's not. And I think that's a big reason why people stop breastfeeding or they start supplementing early on, because they don't have that confidence level, or they don't have enough information to inform them on, okay, yes, these are the cues that I can know that my baby is getting enough. So that's super important. And then I would say avoid supplementing if you want to breastfeed between 6 months in a year. If you want to breastfeed your baby for 6 months to a year, you want to avoid giving your baby anything but breast milk. You don't want to give the baby formula. You don't want to give the baby water. And the reason why I say this is because one reason is there's a biochemical component that happens in between baby and mom. So your breast milk is alive and constantly changing. Your breast milk that you give your newborn, the breast milk that you give at 2 months, and the breast milk at 4 months and 6 months is not the same milk. The milk changes based on the needs of the baby. And your body knows what the baby needs based on biochemical feedback that happens at the breast, which is another reason why you want to put your baby at the breast. Some people actually have the goal to never put the baby at the breast. They have the intention of pumping and giving bottles from the beginning and until they get ready to stop. And breast milk from a bottle is better than breast milk. I mean, breast milk from a bottle is better than formula, but breast milk from the breast is better than breast milk from the bottle because of that biochemical feedback that happens, that allows your body to produce antibodies that the baby can send feedback to the body to let you know what to produce. And then also your body's aware of the baby's physical needs. If they're having a growth spurt, if they're, going through something and they need, something specific from the breast milk, your body can produce it. Can change within 24 hours. You can have a whole different composition of breast milk. So that only happens when you actually put the baby at the breast. And then another thing is that keeping it simple helps you keep it going longer. Can you imagine? I mean, I guess if you're a first-time mom, you don't know, but pumping is a bit of a production. Like getting the pump set up, finding a place to pump, storing the milk, transporting the milk, bottling the milk, bagging the milk, labeling the milk, putting the milk in the refrigerator or the freezer, rotating the milk, warming the milk, preparing the bottle. It's a production. It's a production. So you might be able to do that for a little while, all day, every day, all night, but you could cut out all of that if you just put the baby at the breast. And the more simple it is for you, you're going to be more likely to continue on with that. Now, of course, once you go to work, you'll need to find a pumping system, but it's not very sustainable. It's not as a sustainable plan to plan on pumping forever and never putting the baby at the breast. Some women think that by doing this, they're going to save themselves some type of cosmetic impact of breastfeeding, like my nipples won't be messed up or my breasts won't be messed up or any of that. Pretty much everybody between like 75 and 80 years old, all of our breasts look the same anyway. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you breastfed your baby or you didn't breastfeed your baby. We're all going to look the same eventually. All the breasts, everything, booty, the breast, all that stuff starts to kind of go, get subject to gravity and all of that stuff. So, you don't really save yourself much by, avoiding that. So just, pro tip. Another thing that I've seen people get hung up on is not getting evaluated for tongue or lip tie. So if we have a great latch, if we see something that looks like a great latch, it looks like a great latch to you, and you're still in pain or the baby's not transferring really well, get the evaluation for a tongue and lip tie from a professional, someone who works with it a lot. I've seen people go to like a pediatrician or like whatever the hospitalist pediatrician is, and they'll look and they're like, I don't really see one. And sometimes they still end up having a lip or tongue tie. So I would recommend going to someone who specifically deals just with tongue and lip ties. So that's either going to be like a pediatric ENT that works with that. Or a pediatric dentist that works with that. Or some lactation consultants are really good at catching it too. But the ENT and the dentist is going to be the best one. It's just a simple clip. I don't know why this is. I've observed this a couple of times. I have observed people with sons who have a tongue tie who, and it's hurting the mother and the baby isn't getting as much milk, and they opt not even to get the evaluation because they're like, I can't imagine clipping his tongue. It's just like either a laser or a clipper with scissors. Well, not like scissors, but like a surgical process and all that jazz. And at the same time, get a circumcision. And I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, I mean, of course, it's something I have to keep to myself, but it really baffles me that you would have a circumcision, which is pretty intense surgery, but you won't let the tongue get clipped so that they can eat properly. Go figure. But I would encourage you, if you're having pain with your latch and the latch looks good, but the baby's not transferring well, is to get an evaluation. Even if you get an evaluation by an ENT or a pediatric dentist that deals with tongue and lip ties, it doesn't mean you have to get the procedure that day. It just can give you at least more information to know what you're working with, if you do have a tongue tie or not. So see somebody for that so that you can rule it out. Or if they do deem that your baby has a tongue tie, you can then decide, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to get the procedure or kind of go forth without it? Sometimes babies will nurse fine even with a tongue tie, but later down the line, like when they start school and they need to pronounce more complex words, because we need our tongues to clean our teeth and we also need our tongues to pronounce words. They're not able to pronounce those words as good because their tongue is restricted. So they end up having to get the tongue tie clipped anyway down the line. So just something to keep in mind that may not come up for you with your regular appointments. Burping and skin to skin. We talked about skin to skin, but burping is really important, especially for first time moms. You guys really burp very gently. And I know, like, I've heard moms say, like, when they see the nurses in L&D, like, or nurses in postpartum, and we're burping the babies, or I'm burping the baby, and they're like, whoop, they're looking at you like, oh, what are you doing to my baby? Because we're just like we're really hitting that baby's back. They're like, I hit my baby like this. And you kind of have to use this part of your hand, and you hear it, when you're burping that baby. It's not this little, soft thing. And sometimes if you can actually position the baby on your shoulder or kind of, prop them over and hit their back, very, firmly, that's going to help them get that gas out, because sometimes they won't eat as much if they're really gassy. Breastfeeding babies do take in less gas and they don't burp as much as bottle-fed, formula-fed babies, but they still need to be burped. And I would just encourage you, parents, new mothers, don't be afraid to give a nice firm pat on the back for that. And then finally, I do want to talk about skin to skin. We talked about that initial skin to skin, but I want to talk to you about the ongoing skin to skin. It is not uncommon for me to see mothers 1 week or 2 weeks postpartum, and I'll ask them about skin to skin, and they had not done skin to skin outside the hospital. And that was the last time they did it, because you end up getting so many cute clothes for like your baby shower and people donating clothes, and you just get so many cute. So you just want to dress the baby up in all these cute clothes all the time. And keep in mind, you're at home and it's just you too, but you want to dress the baby up all the time in all these cute clothes, and you're dressed, you got your nursing bra and all your, nursing gown, and you're just looking fabulous. And that's great for optics and IG. But really what needs to happen is your baby should be skin to skin with you as much as possible, because the time of skin to skin is so finite. It's like, I don't know, 2-3 months, and then it's over. You can't be skin to skin with your 7-year-old kid, like the time of that is very finite. So you want to take advantage of that as much as you humanly possible, like as much as you can, because it's going to help with your milk production and it's going to help calm your baby. Sometimes babies are crying, not because necessarily they want to eat, but because they want to be close to you. So I would encourage you to make it a point every day during your maternity leave, to have an hour or two, you can, of just you and your baby being skin to skin. And when I say skin to skin, I mean braless, and I mean with a button-up shirt or a large shirt or no shirt at all, or you could just do the button-up shirt but open up that shirt, and then the baby in only a diaper, and put your baby on your chest and put a blanket over your baby, and do that for at least an hour every day during your maternity leave. It's so important for bonding, regulation, brain development, and milk production. Having your baby close to you really, really helps. So I hope that you all have enjoyed it. I'm going to look and see if I have questions. If you have questions, feel free to put them into the comment section, either on Instagram or YouTube. And we have a question that says, my son will not latch. He was born on 8/19. Due to COVID, the lactation consultant at the hospital was unable to provide adequate assistance. I am producing milk now and pumping. Any suggestions? My son will not latch. I'm not sure if you've given your baby a bottle, because there could be some nipple confusion. And if there is nipple confusion, like if your baby's had a bottle, especially if it was one of the thinner bottles with the smaller nipples, is I would suggest feeding the baby just a little bit to cut their hunger, or trying to initiate breastfeeding before they're starving and crying and really, really riled up. And I would do some hand expression where you push back on your breast and kind of get some of the milk to come out and be on the nipple. And then I would position the baby's nose with the nipple right at the nose, and I'll get them to open up really wide and put them on. And I would just keep trying different ways. And I think one of the key things is to try to get that latch before they get really riled up. And sometimes if you can, I'm not sure your specific situation, if you're pumping and giving them from the bottle, or exactly what's happening. But I would try to cut their hunger just a little bit, or start that feeding before they're really crying and turned up, and then just keep practicing with the latch to see if they will. And then there's also lactation consultants that can come to your home. Now that you're outside of the hospital environment, they can come and see you, as well as resources at WIC that can also help you, assistance with the latch. Okay, only able to give him the bottle. So since since your baby's been on the bottle a lot, you can absolutely get your baby back on the breast. You absolutely can get your baby back on the breast. It just takes a lot of patience, because when I'm observing mothers, dealing with breastfeeding and the baby's crying, it can create a lot of anxiety for the mother to witness the baby at the breast crying. And so we just want to stop the crying right away. Okay, what can I do to stop the crying? Let me just give you this bottle and we'll be done with this. But a lot of times the baby is crying. There's actually a psychological component to that. The baby is crying also to make your body produce milk. And I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. So the baby crying at the breast is not a failure. It's okay. So you don't want them to be too riled up. It's like trying to find that sweet spot between I'm hungry, but I'm not starving. I'm hungry enough to try to latch, but I'm not so starving that I'm going to be too frantic to latch. So trying to find that sweet spot, and taking a nice deep breath, having your water, and trying to get into a very comfortable position. And you are going to do some hand expression, get some milk on that breast, and try to latch your baby. If the baby's too turned up, strip the baby down from their clothes, just a diaper, take off your shirt, take off your bra, and do skin to skin, calm the baby down, and go back at it. So it's really a persistence game. And if you're still struggling, if none of those tips work with just the knowledge that you have right now, then you can call in a lactation consultant that can give you more skills. But the main thing that I want to leave with you is that you can get your baby back on the breast even after having gone on the bottle for several days. So I would like to wish you all again a happy Black Breastfeeding Week. And thank you so much. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you have any questions after this, definitely you can hit me up on the website, rootmama.co, and just click on contact us, and I would be happy to follow up with you further. Thank you so much and have a blessed day.